big corporate deal with MTN. MTN is the biggest mobile operator in Africa and the Middle East. It's, I think, the 8th biggest operator behind all the big Indian operators and AT&T and operators in Indonesia. It's kind of the 8th biggest operator in the world. And we closed a corporate deal, little tiny company in Cape Town. We got on our bicycles and we knocked on doors, and we actually managed to contract a deal that says, when you roll out mobile financial services in all these countries of yours, you will use fundamental technology. And it was a milestone for us. We suddenly were on the map. I mean, the problem, of course, was that the countries where MTN was operating, for instance, Iran, Nigeria, Syria, Sudan. I mean, it's places where people generally don't want to travel to, and it's very bad infrastructure, and so forth and so forth. 21 countries like that, Liberia, Guinea-Bissau, which at that stage had terrible political instability. And so 21 countries. Now think a bit about this. We've just closed a deal. We're a 25-man company in Africa with a multinational that operates in these strange countries. That, it takes you about 2 weeks to just get a visa to go there. In your mind, how long would you plan to roll out 21 deployments? I mean, put the software there, get the infrastructure there, train people, fly there, projects and so forth. 21 countries. How long would you plan to take?
25 years.
I think a bit more aggressive than that, right? But generally, people say to me they think they can do 3 deployments a year. So that would take 5 years, 7 years, or something like that, which would be the kind of project that we did. Being total mavericks, we said we will do it in 2 years. We'll standardize, there's no frills about it. We said to ourselves, how will you do it in 2 years? We want to deploy 21 countries in these mad places in 2 years. And we actually got everybody together after we've gone over the shock, and sat down and got to grips with doing the impossible. We sat down and we planned it, and we said, you know what, if we have a tight schedule, people will travel, do a circle. We work very closely with MTN. They buy into it, etc., etc. We can do it in 2 years, and we were confident that we could do it. So we got on the plane, and we fly to MTN's head office with our grand plan. Now here's where fate, I think, smiled on us, because I'm sure you've worked with big corporates. I see Bank of America is the sponsor, and I've heard it's difficult to do projects with Bank of America because it's big, many people have opinions, etc., etc., and just to get decisions through there and so deploy things will take some time. So, we absolutely expected that we would walk into MTN and say, we want to deploy 21 countries in 2 years' time, and the guy that we will talk to us will say, you're mad. That's not going to happen. But what happened was there was a guy, it was his first job. He came from a country called, it's left of my brain as well, just next to Nigeria, for those of you that know, on the west coast, little small country, French colony. He grew up in a village, very poor, got a bursary, went to INSEAD, got his MBA in France, and started working for this company called MTN. His name was Dare Okojo. And they probably said to him, your first job, go talk to those mad people from Cape Town. And he was the guy that we got. And we said, listen, Dare, we're going to do this in 2 years' time. Fully expected for him to say, you're mad. And he said, okay, let's do it. Now think about that. I mean, that was such amazing break. mean, we could have been very different. And we actually, well, we didn't deploy 21, we deployed 19 countries. We didn't manage to do Iran. That's another story. But we deployed 19 countries with a new financial banking deployment in 19 countries with different languages, Portuguese, English, French, Arabic, with different regulatory dispensations. I mean, it's like impossible. We did 19 countries. I don't know of any banking deployment that anybody did with that scope with a company of 25 people. It's like impossible. But it was only possible because we were given, through grace, a guy called Deborah. And I think therein lies something else that, I thought about it a lot, is in startups, you tend to talk to everybody. Conferences, you hand out your pamphlet and your business card, and you meet many people. But it's important to have the judgment to find the people that you're going to work with, because that will dictate whether your startup will get the kind of traction that you want. And I think it's something that is not spoken about enough, is how do you find the hands that you can hold on to in this world with so many people? And it's something that one needs to think about, is how do you become friends with the right people and enemies with the wrong people? For us, it turned out well, not because we were clever, I think we were lucky. But I think there is something in startups that one needs to think about. I mean, for instance, somebody would say to me, well, we're talking to AT&T. AT&T is very interested in our product. That's rubbish. AT&T cannot be interested in your product. It is somebody in AT&T that's interested in your product. Don't think of AT&T. Think of that person within AT&T and recognize the things that this person will have to go through in order to get your stuff deployed. It's better to say, we're talking to Bob in AT&T, because it actually tells what's happening there. There's a guy in AT&T that's putting his career on the line because he believes in you with this mad product that you are bringing to AT&T, right? I mean, Dari got fired in the end. I think it was a good thing, because he wouldn't have made it in MTN, and today he's running his own startup, very successful, MFS Africa. It's one of the stars in Africa in mobile financial services. Really, really successful. So I think the fact that he got fired was good. But nevertheless, I mean, the turmoil that he must have gone through to support us and to go and get things, sometimes breaking rules within an organization. So I think that's one thing that struck me when I look back on the journey, is you go through a journey by connecting with people and making friends. And it depends on how you approach it. I mean, it is a bit ironic that I'm standing here.
I never thought I'd see you in jail before.
Yeah, I mean, but I remember that chat that we had, and when I think it was Scott that said.
Scott introduced us.
Yeah. No, it said.
Oh, Aaron introduced us on LinkedIn.
No, for me.
For Next Money, yeah, Aaron.
Aaron. So I mean, I didn't think twice to say I'm coming, right? Because I remember it was quite an intense discussion that we had. I can't remember the topic, but I can remember you, right? And I think there was some beers involved.
Like
yeah, but still, I remember that's a special guy, right? And I'm prepared to drive here to come and talk to you guys, because I met him on the journey in Singapore. And that is so important. That, I mean, there's another one that springs to mind, is when we were just starting off, we had this great product, and now we're trying to sell it. I mean, I made a presentation to Deutsche Bank in Frankfurt, and I think when they closed the door, they said, "Wow, that's the real mad African dad," didn't manage to sell. So our first client was a company called MSI. It later became Celltel, and it was later acquired by Airtel, and it's one of the biggest network companies in the world today. But at that stage, they were a very, very small company. We didn't even have it on our prospect list. But there was a lady working there. And her name is Tsega Gabresh. She's from Ethiopia. They fled out of Ethiopia when the king got disposed. Went to Switzerland, and she's just absolutely brilliant, right? I think she was the youngest